Everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome to the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and sidekick, Austin the Day Ghost. Good evening, Austin.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
And we're back for another edition of our final edition of our three-part series on movies I've done too much content on. I have a commentary from just a couple, 3 years ago. I say a couple, it might be 3 or 4 by now. The years run together now like my days do. Getting older, have a lot of kids, it's like we blink and all of a sudden it's been 2 years between like Simpsons discussions. So anyway, a while back, there might have been kids that graduated from high school since then, I'm not sure, but a while back, Dan and I did a commentary on The Mask. He's a big fan of this movie and likes Jim Carrey like I do, and we had wanted to do that together for a long time. It was a lot of fun. I think some new thoughts and observations will come up tonight that I have not brought up about this movie before. Of course, I did a rewind years ago that was on the shorter end in some of the earlier years of the scripted series, and I never came back and did a follow-up. So yeah, I think as opposed to the last couple of movies we did, Austin, there will be some new ground to cover this time. And I noticed some stuff I've not noticed before, I think. So it'll be fun to go back to.
Yeah, for sure.
It will not feel like a complete waste of time. I promise.
Well, not to spoil anything, but have you seen the next movie we're doing? I don't think so.
No, right? I've never seen that.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So that's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
One you've never spoken.
We are totally breaking, and I'll try to give too many hints about it. I don't think people are going to be super excited about this or anything. I'm not going to give away too much yet. One. But that's a movie that a lot of folks that follow us probably have not seen.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a big one. I'm excited.
But yeah, that will be the polar opposite of this, because it's rare for us to do a movie that I've never ever seen. Although I feel like it happened not too long ago, but I forget what with. Oh, Puss in Boots. Puss in Boots I'd never seen.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
And that was the one right before this weird and wacky and unintended 3-part series on movies I've talked about too much. Last time was Spider-Man. And then before that, I guess, was the first X-Men movie. And one of these things is not really like the others because both of those were 2000s movies, and both of those were Marvel movies. And this is a 90s movie that goes back to New Line, which we have discovered on this series. I think this might finally be the end of the New Line superhero movies for us on this show.
Oh, we still got the Blade trilogy.
Oh, that's true. Well, we've done one.
We've only done the first one.
But yeah. You're right. But
sorry, I meant the sequels, but I said trilogy.
Okay, yes, but I can still be obnoxious and say I'm technically correct because the other two are 2000s movies, and so I think this is the end of.
Oh, I didn't hear you say 90s.
I said the 90s New Line movies. I think this is maybe the end of that. Because
I just heard New Line. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, you're okay. I think there's a little bit of weirdness with our connection, so hopefully we pick up enough of what each of us are saying. But am I clipping in and out for you, Austin, or?
No, I think I just didn't hear that. Like,
Oh,
I think
okay.
that was just
He's like, no,
entirely
I just wasn't
user
paying
error.
attention. I'm just kidding. But an interesting thing that we've noticed on this show, because for whatever reason we ended up doing a lot of prototypical superhero movies from the 90s really early on in this program, and we discovered just the sheer number of these things that were released by New Line, and that seems to be kind of the unsung hero of that period. I think New Line probably technically released more superhero movies apart from Warner's, and maybe even more than Warner's, than anybody else in the 90s. Because obviously, if you count 89 coming into the 90s, they've got at least 5 with those in Steel. I'm not sure if anything else is technically Warner's during that period. But if you look
I'm
at
not sure.
superhero movies and things based on comics, most of which I would count as superhero movies, New Line's got like 5 or 6. And actually, with the Ninja Turtles movies, they've got more than that because they released those also.
Well, and, New Line's just a company I find interesting in general. It's a very tragic story, but they are just a very interesting company just through their history.
Well, because I always think of them as primarily a horror company, and that will play in, of course, a lot in our discussion with this, because The Mask was originally supposed to be a horror movie, and based on comics that have much more of a horror bent. I'm just going to keep picking up crap off my desk. But so this was very nearly another attempt at a series of horror movies from New Line, trying to kind of recapture the magic of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and then it ends up not being a horror movie really at all, even though there is a little bit of a residue of that an initial idea, but it's largely excised totally from it, and we'll talk about why that is, because I think that story is really interesting, but the more I think about that company, the more I realize that, and of course I'm not a big horror guy, but like I've seen a lot more movies from New Line that aren't horror things, but a lot of them do still kind of dip their toe in it a little bit, where you can still sort of tell that that's a company that like primarily likes to make those kinds of movies, and then has just pivoted slightly. They're doing like a dimension once removed. Like Spawn is horror-esque, obviously conceptually, and then you have maybe a little bit of you have a little bit of that with Mystery Men. Like that's not real horror-y, but it's got a little bit more of an edge to it than some other things. Like when they do comedies, they tend to have a little bit of a darker bent to them.
And then they like go completely off with like Austin Powers, but like that's also like more into the 2000s. They become a little different,
and I didn't know that was
as
New
well.
Line.
Yep. Yeah, no, they do those as well.
Do you have the thing I do with them?
A ton of places.
Do you have the thing I do with them where every now and again you'll put in a movie and you'll see that logo and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know that was that. Like I have that a lot with New Line.
Yeah, no, I definitely have that in places where I'm like, oh, it's New Line. Yay, I love New Line.
Bob the Hun.
For the most part. It's not like they're perfect.
I'll read Bob the Hun's super chat real quick before we get started. $2 super chat. He says, Spawn reused some of these effects with Clown, not a joke. I guess I didn't know that. And when you say effects, do you mean just like the same process, or specifically some of the same shots? Because if that is somehow true, I didn't notice that and have never heard that.
My immediate thought with that was just we took some of the CGI and maybe tweaked it a little bit, but
yeah,
I'm not sure.
And if they used some of the same process and like even some of the same, like initial starting files or something, like we're gonna have the Clown do something similar to what the Mask did, and so we can just kind of drop that in the timeline and like you said, change it, tweak it. It is Spaz Williams, the same guy doing effects for ILM for both movies, and he does Spawn just 3 years after this, which is a crying shame because this movie, to me, on the effects side, holds up incredibly well overall. There's hiccups here and there, but Spawn really doesn't. And besides some of the stuff with the Violator, still looks pretty good. Now, The Mask is also, and we'll talk about this as we watch the movie, and we'll start here in a second. The Mask is also able to lean quite a bit on the cartoon side, and so everything doesn't have to look like photorealistic and three-dimensional, and it gets away with a lot because of that. And with Spawn, you've got some things that look really rubbery and cartoonish that are presented to us in a way where we're supposed to believe we're really seeing it as a more photorealistic thing. And so the effects were not quite like the technology was not quite there to do what we were attempting in Spawn, and weirdly 3 years before that it was just good enough to get away with what this movie does.
Yeah, so the CGI I think doesn't overall hold up super well in this, but there's definitely shots that I think do that look really good and way better than Spawn. Absolutely, like no doubt.
Well, we can agree to disagree on some of that.
Yeah, no, of course.
Like I said, a lot of it for me, I don't need it to look perfect because of what they're doing. And it's also
same here.
Even with the stuff that doesn't look quite as good as I remembered it from the day, it's still impressive that we did what we did in 1994. And I think about some of the same movies, or some of the other movies that came out that year, and I'm like, how was this early?
Yeah, I know it's fair.
But anyway, well, let's go ahead and watch it. Everybody get to timestamp 0, get ready to press play when I say now, and we're going to get right into it. Shouldn't be... So I've got the new Arrow release of this movie, and it's possible that the logo at the start is a little bit different for like how long it lingers or whatever. I'm not sure, so hopefully we sync up okay, Austin. But if we find that
what's the timestamp you have overall?
1:41:15.
Oh yeah, it's like a 7-second difference.
Oh,
Mine's
okay.
like 7 seconds shorter.
Oh, yours is a little shorter. Weird. Okay.
So it might be maybe even in the credits. I don't know.
Okay. Well, at some
sure we'll
point,
be
one of
fine.
us can either pause or jump forward a few seconds, and we should be all right.
Yeah, if there's any issue.
All right. Well, here we go. Everybody, please press play right now.
I forget which one we did, but there was one where like I think like 20 minutes in, I had to watch it on my TV instead of my iPad, and I hit my Xbox controller and like jumped it forward really far and just had to approximate where I thought you were. And
that's really
you were
funny.
Fine. So
Really funny if
we got
you
this.
watched it for like 5 minutes. You went, wait a minute, I've been watching the third act this entire time. So
I definitely had that when we did that one, yeah.
So I watched this new remaster, this new transfer for the first time yesterday. The like I said, the Arrow release, and thanks again to my buddy Connor for sending me this. Folks, if you are at all a fan of this film, you absolutely have to get this. It's one of the best remasters I've ever seen. It's insane how much better it looks. And I've never even thought that this is a movie that really required some massive update, but it's cleaner on the Blu-ray, and I'm sure the 4K looks even nicer. But more than that, what they've done with the recolorization is amazing. Just the way the colors pop in this, it looks shockingly different. Like, it's really worth it if you can get your hands on that.
Oh, cool.
From frame one, I was absolutely blown away by it. It's nuts. Like, even just the New Line logo, I was like, what did they do to this?
Oh my god, I've never seen all these details in this logo.
I was
Film reel?
absolutely blown away. It was spectacular.
That's awesome.
So as always, I'll try not to repeat myself too terribly much from things I've said before, but I also won't totally remember everything I've said before. So I don't know how much I've talked about the original opening that was shot for this and was cut. I don't know if you've seen that, Austin. I think ultimately it was smart that they lost it.
No, I didn't know that there was one.
Yeah, there's a thing with Leif Erikson where they do a like minute-and-a-half Viking bit at the start where Leif Erikson, the real reason he comes to the New World is just to get rid of the mask. Like, it's been plaguing him and haunting him, and he's like, I gotta get rid of this thing. And so you actually see him bury it in the ocean, and then we transition right away to the Edge City, card that's at the start of this, and it's almost the wrong kind of humor the way it plays. Like, it's kind of too silly. Like, I know this is a really silly movie, but, like, the brand of silliness is kind of off from the rest of this. It reminds me, this is retroactive,
yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the flashback we get at the start, if you'll remember this, Austin, at the start of the Amazon Tick series, where you go back in the past and you learn how the superpowers first came to Earth. It's a little too much like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I just feel like it's better keeping it vague where it came from.
Yeah, I like that too.
I don't think you want a definitive answer on that.
Well, and what's weird is all that tells you is Vikings had it, which suggests that Ben Stein is probably right about the Loki thing. It's still relatively vague, where at least it doesn't open with, like, the gods, or it doesn't show you, like, Thor and Loki and all of that. Like, at least you don't have that. Mm-hmm. But you're right, like, I don't like leading with the magic of it, because that opening scene gives you, like, crazy magic clouds and stuff, and, like, it establishes the wrong
it's, like,
vibe.
Really different.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the wrong vibe. You want it to be a little bit more in line, and we get at least suggestions about where it comes from in this, as opposed to something like a Groundhog Day or a Liar Liar, movies where you just have a conceit and there's not even really any discussion about where the thing comes from. This is somewhere in between that and like a Hancock, where we spend too much time talking about how what the origin is.
Yeah. Well, thank God we didn't have to, like, bring him back, like, in the third act.
Yeah.
And then he's got to explain it.
As Dan Schneider mentions in the comments, and thanks for joining us if you're watching live, by the way, everybody. We'll interact with you as much as we can. The horrible, no good, very bad sequel, Son of the Mask, actually brings in Loki and Odin.
Yeah, because Loki's Alan Cummings, isn't he?
Yeah, and Odin is Bob Hoskins.
Oh, weird. I was going to say, I'm like, Odin's somebody, I can't think of who it is.
And I will try not to talk too much about that whole thing, because we need to get into the mask here, but and this is a somewhat short movie, so it's going to be hard to hit everything, but apparently Bob Hoskins mistakenly thought that he was coming in just for a voiceover, and so they put this helmet on his head, and he gets really pissed off because he didn't think he had to do any screen work. It's really funny.
That's beautiful. I'm sure that's funnier than anything in the movie.
Yes, absolutely it is. But speaking of funnier movies than Son of the Mask, so one of the things, and I'm sure I've said this before, but one of the things I've always really appreciated about this movie is how, despite how much it diverges from what the comics are, and I'm not the biggest fan of the comics, so I don't immediately hate that changes were made, especially because it's not exactly the same, like, Hollywood compromised thing that happens so much with stuff like this, where a studio is worried that they're making a movie that's not going to be accessible enough to general audiences. This one's almost backwards, where the studio pitched this as a horror movie. The director they wanted said no. They call him up 9 months later as they're trying to develop it as a horror movie because they can't get a good script, and they say, okay, fine, you try your, like, comedic romance movie. Do that, because we cannot make this thing work as a horror movie. And Chuck Russell, who directed the third Nightmare movie, said, I don't want to do that same thing again, and I feel like this premise is too close to Nightmare on Elm Street, which...
Just being another Freddy.
Which I think he was spot on about. and you could have made it in such a way where comparison you wouldn't have too many of the same comparisons. But I get why he didn't want to do that. Personally, for him it would have felt too much like making the same thing. But I was just going to say, I like that it's still...
like he probably wanted to get out of that, like not be like pigeonholed into just like you are a horror person, you can't do anything else too. Well, I imagine that's probably part of it.
That too, yeah. Well, and he was clearly trying to make a name for himself as a versatile director that could do a lot of different kinds of things.
Yeah,
and this was very smart for him. In his career. But I was just going to say, sorry, that was a long-winded way to get around to the point I started to make, which is I do appreciate how otherwise comic booky this is, and how it's kind of a heightened world, and it's a made-up city, and it does the same thing 89 does just 5 years before it, in being a kind of timeless looking place where it's that Batman animated series thing where there's a lot of 40s stuff, but it's also kind of modern, and so you can't really pinpoint the time and place. And it's impressive that it manages all of that and doesn't feel too much like that movie, because a lot of comic book stuff throughout the 90s, we talk about this all the time, was cribbing really hard from Burton and trying to recapture that same magic. And there's maybe some similarities you can make here and there with this, but I don't get that 89 vibe from it, even though it's making that same choice. And I really like that about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like for example, we're on the bad guys, and not so much 89, but it does feel like the diet version of like a Darkman or The Crow or RoboCop with the bad guys in this film.
And you can totally see the rated R version of this based on all of that. It's really weird how it's skirting around that, where there's a lot of scenes where you can really imagine it going in more of a Darkman or The Crow direction, and it's the same. It's a similar kind of budget. It's a similar sort of production, where it's what becomes a big mainstream movie that very much starts in a Ninja Turtles way as more of an indie product. Like the way it's made is very indie, except they've got ILM effects on top of all of it, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean I think that's part of just the New Line thing. Is like that's very much New Line's like method. Like they're very underground. Like their president used to just drive like the film reels around in his car to show people.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
So this is like a personal thing for me, but as a kid, this was my first moment of, wait a minute, why is he in the Ghostbusters headquarters?
Yeah, like, that is where that is.
What's up with that? Yeah, no, but it was like my first moment of, wait a minute, we reuse sets in movies?
Yeah, and like there's no hiding that. Like they dress it the best they can, but it's obvious that's where they are. And you can even tell Russell is trying to shoot it at completely different angles. He's doing his absolute best, because he knows if anybody notices it, they're gonna go, oh, Ghostbusters. But like small budget, you're not building a lot of sets. So like they go on location for the majority of everything. The Coco Bongo Club is a real place. The bank is a real place. Like you said, they shot in the firehouse in the scene with the mechanics. The only things that are really built are in a little crappy warehouse they had, and it's mostly the stuff with the gangsters. It's mostly like their hideout and stuff.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense. Like New Line's very run and gun kind of filmmaking.
Well, it started with even a smaller budget than it ended up with, and then when the studio started seeing some of the effects, I think specifically the roadkill bit, when he pulls himself off the pavement, they went, oh, this is going to be a bigger deal than we thought, and they threw more money at it.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool. And almost half the budget went to the effects. So this was an $18 million movie, and $7 million of that went to ILM. And they couldn't have even made this movie, at least with this actor, if they had greenlit it even a year later, because he was a nobody at the point they started making it. And I think a lot of people forget that, where it's like, it's really easy to go back and look at the progression of Jim Carrey's career and go, oh, this would be your natural assumption. Oh, Ace Ventura was huge, and so they cast him in this movie. But he had a trilogy of movies in 1994. Like you get that, and then you get The Mask, and then you get Dumb and Dumber just a month or two
Dumb
after
and Dumber.
that.
That's one of my favorite Razzie things, is that he was nominated for all three. Like, that's what's listed in that nomination. It always makes me laugh, where it's like, for all three of these movies.
That's really
We
funny.
didn't pick one.
And insane because they were all gigantic kids. But that's what's so funny about his career. By the way, this is one of my favorite shots in the whole movie. I just love the lighting and the
Yeah, it
colors
looks really good.
here. It's so good.
No, it looks really good. They love their like big blue lights shining down.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the bridge scene in The Shadow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It actually looks a lot like that. Except nobody's gonna get thrown or attempted to get thrown into the water with cement galoshes. None of that's gonna happen.
No. That could have been the man that he goes to save.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of really convenient and contrived saves and like situations in this just to like set up something for the mask to do. Particularly when when Ipkiss first puts the mask on and then goes out into the alleyway and like not even a block away from his house, there's just thugs. It's like, if you lived in that violent of a neighborhood, you would never leave your house. It's really funny. But then I also like how over the top, and again, this speaks to how comic booky it is, how over the top violent this city is. Like, it's way worse than even most versions of Gotham. And I like how downplayed that is, given how kind of like family friendly this movie is, but there's just all these kind of hints of how horrible this place is.
Yeah. No, for sure. One part of it for me is I feel like there's kind of three movies like fighting at each other, where it's like there's the superhero one, there's the cartoon throwback movie, and then just like a general like rom-com kind of movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of like fighting scene for scene, and like I can kind of tell behind the scenes they weren't entirely sure what this was going to be, and like some things kind of get held over, and then some things, you know, they kind of bring out more while they're making it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that those three things are fighting for dominance, but I think it's more tightly woven than you do, and I think that this director had more of a complete vision for it in the first place and trying to marry that stuff together. Now, as you are right in that as they're putting it together, he thinks he's making something edgier than what they ultimately end up cutting together. That is certainly the case, but the idea of it being like it's a superhero movie, but it's also the cartoon throwback thing, like which one is going to win out at the end, or you know, by the end. I feel like that all plays intentional enough, and there's stuff I don't like about the third act, just because it plays a little too typical for me for a action movie third act and for a superhero third act, especially in an action movie that is overall actually not really an action movie. I kind of wish the climax could have subverted expectations in some of the other ways they're subverting things that I think are a lot more effective. But when you get to the end and Ipkiss has gone through his character arc and he has kind of found a way to marry the two personalities, and he has found his confidence, and he puts the mask back on, and it feels like Stanley Ipkiss is almost a little bit more in control, and then he takes the mask back off, and there's a little bit more mask now in Stanley Ipkiss. That's where I think it finds, okay, he is the superhero through the cartoon thing, and so that comes together for me by the end well enough. I wish that climax was different, but where we get to at the end, I do appreciate.
No, fair enough. I also think he's too like still comedically over the top from the get-go, where like I need him to be a little bit more down to earth and like really sell that just guy that's kind of down on his luck and just kind of mellow and like quiet and mousy. Whereas I don't really get enough of a sense that he's different, and that I kind of feel like he's very over the top from the get-go, and then he puts on the mask and he just yells and he's over the top, but I don't think he sells enough of that stuff at the beginning.
Yeah, and I'm not with you on that at all. I figured you'd say that. The reason it works for me is because this is a guy who is naturally very extroverted and who has totally repressed himself. Now, I wish we explored why a little bit more, but he clearly is an eccentric that is not allowing himself to be himself, and so he's actually and this is why the Jim Carrey casting works. He's actually naturally a really like larger than life personality, but he's trying to force that down, and he's not always doing the best job at it. There's places where I think you're right. The screaming thing doesn't work. Not as the mask, but like as Stanley Ipkiss. Just because he's supposed to be like, he's very practiced and rehearsed at being nice to everyone no matter what, and I think those are the places where it's actually Jim Carrey coming out too much and losing a bit of the performance. So like when he screams at the landlord when she tells him to turn the TV down, for instance, I don't know that works. So like, Mrs. Payne, man, like that's not that character. That's not quite right. Most of the time, I think it's all right because there's that cartoon character that's like waiting to get out.
Yeah.
And that's reflected.
No, I think that's fair. And
that's reflected. Sorry, that's reflected in his dress, in the fact that he's trying to act like an introvert, but he has very loud ties, and in the decor in his apartment, like he's an eccentric that is trying to force down being an eccentric, and he's bad at it in the same way he's bad at lying.
No, I completely agree. And like, I think even when, say, like he's on his own here with the dog, like it's more okay that he comes out in that way, because again, it's the mask is bringing that out that's actually in him, but it's repressed, like you said. I just don't get enough of a sense in his performance that it's actually repressed, because to me, he's just always acting like that. And then again, he just gets louder when he's the mask.
Yeah, well, I don't want to spend the whole time fighting about that, but I do think the range is better than you're giving it credit for, just personally, and I think the whole idea is he's this like insane and cartoony when he puts the mask on, because that's what he's burying, and obviously anybody that would put the mask on would be a much more exaggerated version of like who they really are, or the darker side of their personality, because I think ultimately that's what the mask brings out, is like maybe not just your dark side, but just all of the stuff that you're afraid to do in your regular life, like good or bad. Like the mask is just straight up id, and the character arc is he's like 100% without the mask. If you look at this, Freudian, without the mask, he's 100% superego. When he puts the mask on, he's 100% id, and then by the end, he finds the ego, which is the driver that can marry those two things together, and the logic that can control them. And that's the arc. That's the psychology.
No, of course.
Roboto says,
which is like a little.
Sorry, no, you're okay. Go ahead.
No, I was going to talk about something in the third act, so we can get to it later. Sorry, what were you going to read?
And by the way, I totally get where you're coming from. And some of it I think is just like sensibilities and like the ways we both feel about this actor in the first place. We both bring different biases to it. in the first place. Because like when I was a kid, I wanted to be this guy, and so like I'm gonna freely admit that colors my read on it probably to some degree. But anyway, Roboter says, we're clearly taking from Roger Rabbit for the live-action cartoon bits. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really impressive that they managed to make a movie that wasn't too often compared to Roger Rabbit negatively. Where, like, at the time I didn't hear a lot of that. I don't hear a lot of that now. This is only 5 years after that. Once again, just like Batman. Like, those are the two movies that you would have expected the most comparison to, and that they most easily could have looked like they were ripping off. And it's kind of impressive that they managed to make something that stands on its own as well as it does, carves out its own space, because not only does it remind you of Roger Rabbit in what it looks like when he's doing the cartoony stuff and he turns into a straight up toon kind of from that movie, there's story beats that are like Roger Rabbit. The kind of subversion with the love interest is very much the Jessica Rabbit beat, where she is set up to be the femme fatale, and then it turns out that she's actually one of the good guys, and she's not right. Jessica Rabbit's not the actual love interest for the protagonist of that story, like this love interest is for our protagonist here. But it's actually a similar plot point. That's a thing I picked up on this time around, and also just all the 40 stuff and the jazz nightclub, and they had to have been thinking about Jessica Rabbit with Tina's big musical number, and just the way they shoot her, and the way they put the camera up her body, and like that's all Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah. Well, because doesn't that also have the Tex Avery wolf in that scene from Roger Rabbit? It's been too long since I've seen that. Like, I think they're also just going back to some of the same stuff even, too, as well.
So we talked over the big alleyway scene. You made a point to me off camera, Austin, that the Tommy gun scene is more violent than a lot of what else is in the movie, and that maybe it doesn't fit with the material.
Yeah, well, watching it today, I was like, it is kind of weird that's like the one place where he goes to like a more lethal thing, and obviously he doesn't actually shoot them, but like he doesn't really do stuff like that. Like he's never really like, ha, I got a gun, I'm going to shoot you through the rest of the movie. And then reading the comic today, I was like, oh, it's because the scene comes from the comic.
Yeah, it actually comes
so,
right
like,
out
it's
of the
one
comic.
of those places where they took something from the different material, and it just kind of isn't gelling as well for me. Like it's fine here, but like it does just kind of feel weird that it's the only thing like that.
Yeah, and I've always felt that way about it too. The devil's advocate argument I'll give you, and I mean, like, it's a fun premise on paper. I totally get why they wanted to do that. I
agree. It's a good.
Let's have Jim Carrey make balloon animals, and then we turn it into a Tommy gun. Like that's all fun, but the best defense I can give of it in fitting with the rest of the movie is he's in putting on the mask. Obviously, you lose all of your inhibitions, and some of your dark side comes out. And his first inclination in dealing with these thugs that live seconds away from his house is like intimidate them with a gun, and maybe he might have even wanted to shoot them. And although like he's not. You wouldn't be holding back, and so that kind of suggests just how like altruistic and nice of a person this guy actually is, even deep down. Is that, like, he'll pretend to do horrible, violent things, but he just doesn't have it in him. So like his darkest dark side is just intimidate people with guns. But immediately after that, he goes to, I have these amazing new powers. I could be a superhero, and then he never really does anything like that again. So it's like...
Which is also a scene from the book, which surprised me.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's also like, I could be a superhero. And then he just like continues murdering people he doesn't like.
And see...
then there's even a point later on where he's like, man, like, I'm still getting revenge. I was supposed to be a superhero.
My read for that in just the context of the movie is that this guy's natural inclination in getting powers like that, like the first thing he does is kind of like Peter Parker, do the selfish thing, right? But then like immediately after that, he thinks, because he's a good person, oh, I've got these amazing powers, and even though I'm shedding all my inhibitions, what I really want to do is help people. And then you get to and so I like that one of the first things he says is, oh, I could be a superhero. And then you get to the end of the movie, and you have a blueprint for what that would look like as an alter ego if you were to actually hold on to the mask and just keep putting it on to go fight crime, which is what you could have done with a sequel.
If they made an animated series.
And that's what they did in the animated series, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the main thing that makes it count for me as a superhero movie, is that by the end it has a superhero climax, and you're seeing what the blueprint would be. Now, he throws the mask away, so the idea in the context of the movie is supposed to be he's done with that, and he wouldn't continue to go be a superhero. But if you had made a sequel, you easily, and they had planned it. I mean, it was in development. It almost happened.
Nintendo Power.
They were gonna, yeah, they were, and I've talked about that. They were gonna bring him back. They were gonna bring back Cameron Diaz. It was gonna be a lot of this cast, and
they're still talking about it now.
I know.
I know.
I hope that doesn't happen. I don't need that. I don't need him attempting this 30 years later. Like, can he?
I think recently he said he would be willing to do the Grinch again, and I'm like,
I know,
dude.
And why? and like, by the way, don't say all that after you tried to retire. Like, stop it.
Well, he's retired unless people want to make sequels. Being green.
If you have to do that with this material, do it animated. Like, don't do that live action. Don't have him back at pushing 60, putting the mask on. Like, don't do that.
Yeah. No, I feel like now is the time to do like a grittier streaming show thing, right?
Yes. Absolutely. And this is one of my favorite superhero movies. As much as I love this, I don't want this again. I think there's all kinds, and I've said this before, there's all kinds of really cool things you could do with the mask. Even back then, if there was going to be a sequel, there should not have been a Jim Carrey trilogy. Or if he had to be in it...
This could be an anthology film
That's
series.
What I was going to say is, if he had to be in it, it should be in more of like a supporting mentor kind of role, or just give him a quick cameo or something, where it's like, have that one kind of fun scene where the next person that gets the mask has found out about him and shows up to get advice or something, and he's in one scene. And that's all you do with it. But you could do an anthology series where every movie is in a completely different genre. And the only thing that I feel like all of them would need is just a certain level of quirkiness. Because, like, this concept kind of requires a little bit of whimsy, whether it gets really dark, whether it's really light. Like, you can't take it so seriously that you lose that aspect of it, but you could do any kind of genre with it as long as it's still pretty heightened and a bit over the top.
Yeah, well, because I mean, even the comic, which obviously is way darker, it's more of like dropping like a serial killer Daffy Duck into like a Fritz the Cat world.
Yeah, it's still comedic. It's just black comedy. It's just darkly comedic.
Yeah, exactly. So no, you definitely still need that element.
So obviously one of the big subversions that we do from standard comic book movies, and like I said, my biggest complaint with this is the ways that it's actually too typically a superhero movie, given that it's going out of its way to surprise you with stuff. And I think if you saw this for the first time 30 years later, right now, it would still surprise you with a couple of its plot points. You still would likely not know exactly where it's going with the double love interest thing, and I really like that in it, where like you've got the Lois Lane type character, who I think actually looks more like April O'Neil, but you have like a love interest.
I had the same thing,
type character, and then she is of course enamored with your hero because he is so altruistic, and actually seems to treat women as people, which is interesting because he's got this womanizing side that comes out in the mask, where he gets just like gratuitously womanizing, I'm jumping ahead, but one of the things I think is amusing about his relationship with Tina is that when she dances with the mask, he never talks to her. And so she gets infatuated with him just because he's an amazing dancer and he's so forward and everything. And then the moment he starts talking, she wants nothing to do with him. And that's really funny.
I think he's a pervert. He immediately becomes Pepe Le Pew.
That's straight up. And so it's cool that it kind of surprises you in that way. There's a couple other things it does that I'll try to bring up when we get to them. But then you get to the end and you have to have your typical girlfriend gets kidnapped thing and defusing a bomb and all of that. And you could say, well, we're throwing back to both superhero, comic stuff and cartoons in doing that because there's a lot of obviously Tex Avery and Warner Brothers cartoons that go to those places. But I think the important thing to note is that all the cartoon stuff should come from The Mask. Like, The Mask didn't set up that situation. Whenever the cartoon throwback stuff works, it's because he's manipulating everything to be that way. The bomb doesn't come from him.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing I was going to bring up earlier, was then you get to the third act and you also have, like, such a lame villain when he gets the mask.
I know.
Where it just kind of goes...
Well, and
they just kind of throw up their hands, and it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and I feel like the DNA for what to do with an interesting character parallel, between them is there, and they just don't run with it. He obviously has an insecurity of his own and wants to be the top dog, and there's some cool mob politics stuff that we don't get into that we could have addressed a little bit. And I think the organized crime stuff could have taken over too much. And looking at special features today, and by the way, there's a lot of new interviews on the new Blu-ray, which I really also recommend it for, because there's new information that had not been out before with that. And one of the things that's talked about in one of the featurettes is that there was an earlier draft where there was a lot more mob stuff, and they downplayed it and put it more in the background. And in a way, I think that's really smart. And in another way, I feel like it makes your villain look too obligatory. So I'm completely in agreement with you on that, where he should parallel Stanley in that he is also repressed and is kind of mousy, and I would have made that character not imposing in the first place. You know what I would have made him like, Austin? I would have made him like Sid the Squid in the Batman Animated Series episode. The man who killed Batman, where he's like an underling who just keeps to himself and doesn't say anything, and then when he gets the mask, he's the top dog now. He's scary. He's Black Mask now. That's what I would have done with it.
Yeah. Well, that was something I was going to bring up, because from reading the comic, the sense that I get, the big kind of thing that ties it all together is that all the main characters are people who are down on their luck, are kind of repressed in some way, not fulfilled. And there's some of that in this movie. I just don't think it's fully brought to the fore. But like you said, Stanley has that. The bad guy has that. It's just not. Yeah, so it's I feel like we could have really pulled that out more.
She is oppressed by the man. Sorry, she's oppressed by the man that feels oppressed by the main mob boss guy. But they're all really underwritten.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Stanley is given just enough motivation that I can't call it a character study, but all the identity stuff that they're attempting with him plays, I understand it. Could you have drawn some of that more to the fore? Could you have given us a little bit of background about him to give us a sense of how he got to this place? Sure. I also like how economical it is and that it moves the kind of clip it does.
Yeah.
It is attempting a RoboCop. kind of thing.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that completely. Like,
it doesn't want to give you like, it gives you just enough about your protagonist to be sympathetic toward him, and it doesn't have to be a biography. But we need, so I think there's enough there for him, but we need just a little more for our villain, for our love interest, at the very least.
yeah, no, like I said, I've got issues with execution and performance, but I think I agree on paper. I think it's all there. You just need the other characters needed to have that brought out more to like fully understand that there is a parallel between them, and like this is what it is. And then I also wouldn't have done the cartoon thing with the bad guy. Like that also feels weird.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Because we specifically bring it to Stanley and have a reason for it, and then we give it to Dorian at the end. Just because, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you could even complain that there's too much of it with the dog, but it's at least Stanley's dog. You know, like, the dog at least
He's
lives
at least in,
with
like, the
Stanley
room.
and might have gotten some of that through osmosis. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, like, yeah, like I can at least. There is a read you can have on the dog, whereas for the bad guy, basically all it is I don't know, he's evil, so he becomes a monster, I guess. And he's also the only one where it changes him entirely physically. Like he's much bigger, and the others don't have that, which is also weird.
Well, and you could say that that's because deep down that's how he sees himself, but that doesn't seem to be exactly what the mask does with Stanley.
Yeah.
Where, like, it doesn't let you completely
Yeah.
reinvent yourself. It brings out something that's, like, in you already, like, you know, positive or negative. And so, like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure it's like deep down he's just this giant monster guy. Like, he looks like a Muppet.
Yeah. When the voice is also pretty unfortunate.
Yeah.
But like with the dog, you can say, you know, you take the rules away. You know, you're a dog, you no longer have that. So then he becomes crazy where he's like running around biting people and peeing on people and things like that. So it's like there is a read you can have with the dog. I just don't think there's enough for the bad guy, which is unfortunate.
Well, and I think Peter Green as the villain, as Dorian, is really good. And
yeah, and we should mention that he passed away, I think, like a month ago.
Oh no!
I didn't know he's an actor I like. So yeah, I want to say like a month or two ago.
And again,
but no, he's an actor I like.
That's not necessarily the direction I think they should have gone with that character. And like, now to be fair, I also get the contrast they're trying to draw. Just for this is an entertainment, Austin, where we want to have the villain side be pretty serious to contrast all the comedy we're doing even with Stanley. So, like, I get that. Because if you did, like I said, the Squid thing, you would actually have two comedic characters. I think there's maybe a way to make that work, but you wouldn't have any imposing villain except for what you'd probably do is have a lot more time spent with the actual main mob boss guy.
Yeah.
You let him be sort of your villain for the first 2/3, and then let this other guy be in the background. And actually, Green could have played him. He could have played the top guy, and then he could have had like a guy underneath him that you just think is a henchman, and then the henchman becomes the big bad guy by the end. But we're doing more character work with him throughout it. You know, like he should have had like his Carmine Falcone or something, and have him be like the main villain through a lot of it.
Yeah, because I think where it is, it's like in a weird midpoint where like I don't really find them threatening either. Like again, it just kind of plays as they're just like the generic RoboCop-y kind of gang.
Yeah.
So it's like somewhere in the middle where like I agree with you, like you could do it completely different from the cartoon stuff, or you could do it more like he's sheepish and then has that kind of build up thing as well. You could do it either way, but we're kind of just somewhere in the middle.
But yeah, so we're in agreement. He's just too generic. What he needs is an interest.
Yeah.
Because that's what Stanley has, is he's got this very specific interest that's drawn out through the mask. I've probably talked about this before. There is the question, given as timeless as we're trying to make this thing, about whether you want like actual pop culture references in a thing like this, but I think it's ultimately kind of necessary, and at least it's throwing back to the period that the rest of the thing is throwing back to. So I like there's no other pop culture references really throughout the rest of it besides I guess music, but it's like we have Tex Avery, we have really specific cartoons. And then the rest of it feels like a very heightened generic universe. Or not generic.
Well, The Mask is a parody of Sally Field's Oscar acceptance
that's
speech.
true. That's true. Okay, I'll give you that. Well,
but that also is the type of thing where if the Looney Tunes shorts were still going, they probably would have made fun of stuff like that. So, like, it's fine.
No, that's a good point.
Like, I could see Bugs Bunny doing that. Like, that's fine.
But within the world itself, you're saying that Tex Avery exists and the Tasmanian Devil exists, but then, like, the rest of it, you never get a pop culture reference, except from the Mask himself, who does break the fourth wall. So he could even, like, he's like the genie from Aladdin. He could go to stuff that's in our world. That's not in their world,
no,
potentially.
For sure.
He could kind of do the Deadpool thing.
Mm-hmm. When I was thinking of this too, sure, Daniverse, I forgot about that too. He does the Clint Eastwood impression at one point.
Oh yes, that's true. That's true.
But and he does like Casablanca, but that's also in that same period. But no, what was I gonna say? So the cartoon thing is like a Nightmare on Elm Street thing. You know, when you get into the sequels, and it's like every character has that thing, and then that's how Freddy will kill them. Like, it would have been cool if the villain had his own thing in that same way.
Well, especially like starting with the one that this director made. Like, he did a lot of that.
No, exactly. Yeah.
I haven't seen those in a long time, and I only saw them once, but I remember that would be my favorite.
3 is really good. Yeah, it's definitely up there for me. There's Elvis.
Well, let me read these super chats real fast. Schmuck's Lover, $2 super chat. Carrey was almost Plastic Man in the 90s. We've talked about that before, I think. Which would have been
I think so,
really, really obvious and on the nose. But I can see why you would have done that at that time. Dan Schneider, $5 super chat. Any sicko that would be attracted to that green bald face will get no sympathy from me. What is wrong with you, girl? Completely deviant and unnatural.
It's true.
That's hilarious, and that points to
he's got a face like chewed up gum.
Well, that points to a question that I have, in another thing I've talked about, but that I have throughout this whole movie, which is how in the world are people not reacting more like spooked and weirded out by things he's capable of doing, and how much mental control does the Mask have at any time on people that he's interacting with? This moment right here, the Oscar bit, only works if he is kind of controlling the people that are in the scene with him, because
they're also reacting to it.
They're all looking out, breaking the fourth wall just like he is, looking out at an audience that isn't there, and are not remotely freaked out about how incredibly supernatural this is. Moreover, when Stanley Ipkiss is framed for doing the thing that he actually did, which I think is kind of great, and has a generic green mask on him, that is enough for the cops. And there's no discussion whatsoever about how in the world, and like, they should even be able to like pull that mask out, look at it, and go, if you put that on a person's face, it would not look like what we dealt with. But even beyond that, of course, it also wouldn't give you superpowers. And nobody talks about the incredible, impossible, bizarre things that he does. And they all like get sucked into the cartoon along with him, like when they're out at the park and they're pulling 100,000 things out of his pants. Like, there's this really strange suspension of disbelief that you have to do to make this conceit work at all, which is whenever he's around, they're all in the cartoon with him, and that works fine for me, but I feel like everybody ought to snap out of it after that and have discussions about how impossible everything we just dealt with is.
No, the cops are like so pinpoint, like, what's this? And it's like, but how?
Okay, I'm sorry, can we talk about pajamas for a minute? I have pajama questions.
That sentence has never been spoken in the history of humanity. What are your pajama
I
questions?
have two big pajama questions. I'll do them in reverse order because we're looking at it right now. Why, except for the sake of the plot, is he wearing a different set of pajamas right now?
I guess
You can't explain this.
No, I had the same thing while watching it today. I was like, oh, that's right. He's wearing different pajamas so that the cop can't see him with it ripped.
So what you're telling me is he got home as the Mask, and his pajamas were what he was wearing when he turned into the Mask, and the Mask changed him into these pajamas. Why? Or he did it and then laid down in bed, but they play it like the first time he wakes up, because this is now the second time he's been the Mask, where it's like almost like I don't even know how I got here. So I have to assume that somehow he did that while he was still wearing the mask. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he took it off and then changed it into those pajamas. But I'm not totally sure why he does
they
that.
weren't that badly ripped. Like, you would probably just go back to bed.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that he'd have no reason to actually change out of his clothes. And the second thing is, once again, except for contriving an easy plot point, Austin, because the cops need some kind of clue to go after him, why only one time in the whole movie... Sorry, let me interrupt myself for a second and say, I do really like the way the bank heist is handled. I like that we don't have a big scene where it happens. We just get it in the security footage. But you actually do get to see a little bit of it. I think that's kind of cool. But, and economical.
Then the cops aren't like, oh, he's super speeding. Like, the one's like, that's weird. He has super speed. And then the cop's like, Stanley.
These are very ineffectual cops. But anyway, why does a piece of his costume, when it falls off, transform into the pajamas, but that never happens with anything else in the movie, and it makes you seriously wonder. Like, I would never have questioned this, except they made that a plot point. It makes you wonder about any other objects he creates and how long they exist for. Like, when all that stuff comes out of his pockets and gets strewn around the ground, they don't disappear right away. They don't transform into pieces of his pajamas. How long are they there? Do they dissolve at some point? And then, why does he... And then it makes you ask the question, because we don't know the answer to that, why would he have to steal money? Because he could just create money. And then couldn't he just... Even if it dissolves, he interacts with people in such a way where he hands people stuff and it doesn't immediately disintegrate. So even if you lost the money once you left a place... it would be convincing enough, long enough, that you could spend it. So there's actually no reason he needs to even do the bank heist.
But then he's destroying the economy. He's creating inflation. He's adding money into the economy.
The Mask's not going to care about that. Well, actually, maybe not, because it probably disappears at some point. So really, it would just be an easy way to steal stuff. It would be counterfeit bills that disappear immediately after you spend them. It's perfect. That's actually a way better crime than the one he does.
Well, I think the awkward thing too is you have that, and like you said, there's no reason for that to happen except we need the cop to be onto him.
Yeah.
Except the immediate next scene is, oh, he robbed the bank. Let's look at the fingerprints, which is how they then confirm that it's him. So it's like you already have a thing for them to get onto Stanley. So it's like you didn't need that.
You didn't have to do with that.
Yeah.
That sucks. And the reason he's the narrative reason that he's wearing the other pajamas is obviously he can't be wearing the first pajamas with the hole in them, or immediately he's dead to rights.
Yeah. Exactly. If the pajamas fit, you can't acquit because you did it.
Put it on a t-shirt. Hey, let's make custom Mask t-shirts.
Put it on a pajama shirt.
Yes! Perfect! That is my new favorite thing you've ever said. I'm very in love with this.
What would OJ be if he put the mask on?
Braden,
That's
yes,
what I wanna
fingerprints
know.
existed in the 40s. That's a plot point in all kinds of noirs and things, as far as I know. But even if it wasn't, we're not in the 40s. We're in a present day that's redesigned to have a lot of aspects from the 40s.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure when the fingerprint kind of forensics stuff started going down. It'd be interesting to look into, though.
Well, cursory research confirms what I just said. Fingerprints were very
Yeah,
active
no,
in
I'm
the,
not
in the
even
40s,
doubting you, but I would be interested to look
serving
into that.
as
Yeah.
the... Well, that's the thing is, that's... Like, I mean, yes, it's forensics, but it's not modern forensics.
Yeah, no, of course, of course.
But I feel like I've seen a lot of old movies that's the main way that cops solve crimes.
Mm-hmm.
I Now I do appreciate that it doesn't feel too convenient that I Stanley is working at the same place that, or I should say that the Mask and Dorian try to hit the same place. That's handled a lot better than it is in some other stuff. Where it's actually kind of impressive that they worked out a plot where you kind of buy that happens. That, like, because the reason it works is because she comes in, I what's her name?
Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz.
Tina.
Tina. That she comes in with the camera to, like, case the place in the first place, and then he's working there, and then when he gets the mask, he's just gonna hit up the place that he works. That's all believable enough. That could have read really convenient.
Yeah. No, I think that works because, like you said, that's what gets Stanley involved with Cameron Diaz. It's like it is just all connected to what's going on. Like it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's the kind of coincidence that, like, you could see happening.
Yeah, exactly.
What wouldn't work is if he just went, I need money, I'll go hit up some bank. Like, it only works because he works there.
I just had a thought.
Yeah.
It's interesting because obviously we have like the Loki thing here. That we didn't do like a What's Opera doc kind of reference.
Oh, yeah.
Where Elmer Fudd's in like the Viking outfit.
Good call. I think as a kid, this was probably my first exposure to Ben Stein. And like a lot of people, I was immediately taken with him because he's so dry and has a really strange voice. And then I was a big fan of When Ben Stein's Money on Comedy Central because I've always been a big game show guy. And Ben Stein is brilliant and has a ridiculous kind of knowledge base. And so do you know anything about that game show?
No.
So When Ben Stein's Money, and I think it was like the first thing Jimmy Kimmel was ever in, where he was like the kind of the side co-host guy. He was like the Vanna White of that show, where he was just there to read the categories. And Ben Stein would bring on contestants in a kind of generic trivia game, and the conceit was I don't know how true this is, but he puts up his own money that you can win. And the contestants compete, and then after the first round, whoever has the least amount of money just gets booted off the show. And then there's a second round, and that happens again. And then the last person standing goes up against Ben Stein himself, and you have to beat Ben Stein to win the top prize. And he was insanely knowledgeable, and it was a great show. I really miss it. It's one of my favorite game shows.
Yeah.
And that set was really funny.
I can't remember.
He's great.
Yeah. No, I can't remember if it was this or Ferris Bueller was the first place that I saw Ben Stein. I can't remember. But it's one of the two.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's
first
exposure to him. Oh, another kind of typical superhero thing, of course, and this is more of like a fun trope than it is did you have to go there kind of thing for me. I don't know how you feel about it, but the idea of Stanley claiming that he is friends with the superhero, that's like a real golden age thing where like Clark Kent knows Superman, and Bruce Wayne, is friends with Batman. Like, we do that kind of thing a lot. And going all the way to he's
Peter Parker's
pretending
friends
to
with
leave the
Spider-Man.
scene and then immediately comes back as the hero, and she somehow does not put this together. Why would he even walk in the direction he's walking if not to go behind a bush and come back as the Mask? Like, that's not even where you go. He just goes behind a bush?
No, there's no path there. He just runs into the forestry.
But what I like about it is how horrible of a liar he is, because he's just, like, that good of a person.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also fun, because then 3 years after this, he's going to play the exact opposite in Liar Liar. And so he's not only going to play a person that lies all the time, but that's going to be the premise of the movie. It's like the exact opposite of this. Where, like, here he's just got to learn how to gain confidence and be proactive and, like, integrate some of the wilder, darker parts of his personality, which he actually needs to succeed in life. And in Liar Liar, it's just learn how to be less of a jerk to people and actually care about your kid. And so I've always said that there is a Liar Liar trilogy with Jim Carrey, where he made 3 movies almost in a row that all have the same basic story arc and the same basic character arc. With Liar Liar and then Bruce Almighty and then Yes Man. And The Mask is like a prototype for that, but does not fit in there as a quadrilogy because the character arc is different. Because the character arc is actually the opposite of what it is after this, where it's a good person who learns how to have a spine, as opposed to a not very good person that learns to be a good person. And in a weird way, the real prototype, or the real first movie in that formula, is not a Jim Carrey movie, it's Groundhog Day.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Groundhog Day is exactly that formula before Jim Carrey is being typecast over and over again to be in that exact same story formula.
Well, then he also got to play Scrooge, which is also that kind of character arc.
Yeah. I always forget about that because it's a voiceover.
Yeah.
And I never saw it, and that animation looked wonky, and I just didn't want to watch it.
It's part of that Zemeckis, like, ooh, what are we doing, animation period? And yeah, I never bothered with it.
I don't need that. But
Polar Express was enough for me to be like, I don't know, Zemeckis.
I didn't like the look of that either. But yeah, Christmas Carol is obviously kind of the archetype for we talk about this all the time, like a lot of stories, but Groundhog Day and then the Liar Liar trilogy.
And Bill Murray also did a version of the Christmas Carol, because Christmas Carol had a million versions. Because he does Scrooge.
I forgot about that too.
Yeah.
So again, what's going to happen to all these objects after they're
like
pulled
a
out of
whole
his
web.
pants?
Yeah, I don't know. He's also got multiple rubber chickens, because I feel like we see rubber chickens on the floor and then cut to the cop holding one.
Oh yeah, weird.
He's got a ton of them. Yeah.
I got a couple super chats here. Chewbacca's Love for $5 super chat. Mass perviness is the most 90s thing about this movie. You wouldn't get away with it now. Horny comedy characters is the most dead trope.
Yeah, I mean, he probably wouldn't do it differently. He probably would do it differently. Even if it was there, he'd maybe frame it more creepy, I guess.
Yeah, well, and in the interview that Russell does for the new Blu-ray, he actually comments on that a little bit and says people would probably consider some of the stuff that we do with Cameron Diaz in this kind of sexist now, but he says, but it's right for this story. Like, you've got this like sexually repressed guy that's kept all of that down. Like, if that guy put the mask on, that's how he would probably treat a woman, at least at first.
Yeah. And she's also like, ugh.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So, like, it's part of where being progressive at a time, and then later on, it's not as progressive as things are later.
Sure.
I think it's one of those.
But yeah, it ain't glorifying it. And I mean, like, he was also talking about things like the way they're shooting her in the nightclub scene and all of that. But again, it's about POV. It's about the men that are ogling her in that scene. And you could say, like, for the audience, it's gratuitous or whatever. And then you just have to get into an argument, and everybody's going to fall on this differently, about, like, when it's okay to sexualize women and what it means to sexualize women, as opposed to just like photographing them when they're intentionally being sexy themselves, which happens. It's very complicated.
And Chewbacca's lover adds he means in mainstream movies, like,
right?
Mainstream comedies wouldn't do that. We don't
even make mainstream comedies. That's part of the reason we don't, is because we're afraid of everything. You have to be willing.
We've had like a couple in the last couple of years, but like they were an exception. It was like, oh man, we're trying to bring them back.
Yeah, with Naked Gun and stuff. You have to be willing to risk offending people to make comedies, and that's why a lot of them aren't made anymore, because we're too afraid to offend people.
Yeah, I think it's also just that, and like everything became comedy.
Well, yes,
as well. So it's like most action films are also comedy. So like it kind of just took the place.
That's a good point too. So for a lot of people, this is the most classic scene. I was in love with this in the theater, and it was kind of the big thing that stuck with me, I think. What I really like about it now, thinking about it all these years later, Austin, is, like I said earlier, it's an action movie that's not really an action movie, and it's cool that a lot of the big set pieces are just big dance numbers. Which speaks to like this character and what he really wants out of life, and like the way he solves his problems is through entertainment as opposed to violence. Well, that's perfect for what we know about his interests and his character, and how altruistic and kind of a person he is. I really like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the best scene of the movie. Absolutely. This is also just the scene straight out of Mask of the Phantasm.
That's true.
Even as a kid, I was like, oh, it's like Mask of the Phantasm.
That's so funny. Well, then we should have found out that Peggy was, in fact, not just working with the mobsters, but was the main mobster.
She was the mask.
She's the mask. The studio was really on the fence about the big dance number and tried to get him to cut it, which is insane.
That makes sense. That's one of those things that's like kind of weird that I can see a studio being like, I don't know. That's too weird. Like, I kind of get it. Like, but the problem I agree. Like, you shouldn't cut it.
It plays like a big action set piece. Like, the whole point of it is you think a big shootout's going to happen, but then that happens instead. So if you cut it, you'd have to replace it with something. They wanted to just cut it. It would make no sense to just not have anything there.
Well, you probably would just have it where the cops are like, freeze, we're going to arrest you, and then he runs off, and that's it. I would think. And then it would maybe cut to him taking the mask off.
But for a movie that is playing as being even bigger than it is, it would feel so empty if you did that.
Sure.
I think you could have shown a studio exec a cut of it without that, and they'd probably be like, okay, never mind, bring it back. Like, this movie's kind of boring without it.
Yeah.
I really think that's what would happen.
No, as much as Bob Shea is cool, the head of New Line, there's some questionable decisions he makes, assuming that was, like, a thing that he thought.
So, like I said, this subversion is decent. It is really funny that she outs herself to him before she knows they're about to walk in, and then just conveniently they walk in right after she says, no, I don't actually mean what I'm saying. And then they just show up.
It's literally like the 24th thing.
I would think the reason you do that is because they just got there, and they're gonna, like, call her motivation out. But no, she says it. Like, how awkward would it be if she's then waiting there with him for 5 minutes and he knows that she's working with the bad guys?
Mm-hmm. Well, and the way you would normally play that scene is they come in and they're like, give us the mask, and then she does it, and that's like the twist. We're like, oh, wait a minute, she's working with the bad guy. So that is weird.
Yeah, it's very strange.
But it's literally the 24 thing. We find out that she's evil, and then she's just immediately evil.
That's exactly right.
Now the bad guys are here.
Now, I do like that or at least I think she's totally sincere when she first meets him in the bank about everything she says, like wanting a guy like him, and like she would maybe date him and all of that, and that they just made her an offer she couldn't refuse. So like when she says her column doesn't pay anything and she's starving, that gives you the motivation for why she works for them later. So I don't think she's like a bad guy all along. She's just easily corrupted like everybody else in the city.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's too cartoonish. Tell me if you agree with this. That a big storm cloud opens up over his head when he puts the mask on. It's like, the mask knows how evil he is. Here comes the big storm. Now,
well,
I think
the mask is made by someone evil.
That's true. I think the idea is maybe supposed to be the cloud is his tornado. So, like, when Stanley puts the mask on, he does the, like, zip-around tornado thing, and when Dorian puts it on, the big cloud opens up. The problem is, the cloud starts to form before he's even put it on his face, so what? Every time he's considered, maybe I'll put the mask on, like, here comes a big cloud. Whereas when Stanley does it, there's a light, and it happens with him too, that shines into the mask like, maybe it knows that you're thinking about putting it on, or maybe that's just for the audience's sake. I don't know. But then, nothing actually happens until Stanley puts it on his face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's just he's evil. Like, everyone else is like, wait a minute, there's evil coming.
So they're trying to make it really theatrical and imposing, but like you said, it just comes off generic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like it's weird. Like I said, the mask doesn't change anybody else physically. So like it's weird that he's like jacked now.
Yeah,
and like it's very obviously not the same actor.
The only thing I can think of, and I'm joking when I say this, but the only thing I can think of that is actually in the movie that you could play with as a motif and an interest is golf.
That'd have been great. He just becomes like Tiger Woods.
And even then, it's not him playing golf, it's the main bad guy. I think. Doesn't he walk in on the main bad guy playing golf? Or is it him playing
he's got that,
it?
like, virtual golf.
Yeah.
It's the guy that's working.
If you reverse that and you had him playing golf, you'd at least have something. We have no interest at all. Now, I meant to say this when we had it, in the introductory scene with him, one thing I do like thematically is that one of the first things we see him do, because he wants to take over the mob and get rid of the mob boss, right? And he's got a picture of him, and he puts he pokes out the eye holes with his cigarette, and then he puts it up to his face, and that's cool foreshadowing, and it itself is like a mask. It's like we're doing a cool thematic thing with that, where we're saying this is the person he wants to be. Wouldn't it be cool if what he actually turned into was like a really like charismatic gangster? Like, what he needs is some kind of charisma.
That's what I was gonna say.
To match the mask's charisma. It should be scarier and
he should turn into
ominous.
Like Al Pacino's Scarface, like at the end of the movie where he's like screaming "Say hello to my little friend," like where he goes like over the top gangster.
Make him like a
and
Bond villain or something.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, if you want to have some sort of loose connection to the cartoon thing, like you also kind of have that in cartoons. Like you have Bugs Bunny versus, was it Rocky? I think was the name of the little gangster guy. So like you also kind of have a loose connection, but like you also have a connection to what he wants, which is to be the top dog of the mob. So like,
yeah, no, that's excellent. I will say this would have been kind of convenient and a little contrived, of course, but it at least would make
Yeah.
the cartoon stuff come from someplace. Could you maybe have just had a gangster that has that in common with Stanley, and like they both like cartoons? Like, could you have done that?
Yeah, I think that would be too contrived, but like you could.
I mean, maybe look, this world is heightened enough.
It's better. It's better than what we have.
Well, no. That's not what I was going to say. The world is heightened enough. Hear me out. That what you could do is you could have you do the like. There's only like one channel on TV thing, and you have lots of scenes where every time you walk into a room, it's cartoons, and it's like a world where the only thing anybody watches is cartoons. You just have them on all the time.
Just have Jim Carrey be into like Looney Tunes and stuff, and then the bad guy can be into Mickey Mouse. He would still be kind of generic and boring, but
well, I like the idea that the bad guy would be into the less edgy one.
Yeah,
like that's kind of fun. And then that would give you like a Roger Rabbit, more of that Roger Rabbit energy, where you bring both houses in. No, I'm with you. It would be too easy, but it's better than what we have. Tobin Belpon's $10 super chat. This role was the perfect vehicle for Carrey already, but do you think he would still be perfect if it was a more faithful / darker adaptation? This movie doesn't suck. Thank you for your review. I always appreciate the very concise, succinct, sucks or doesn't suck review. Austin, I don't think so.
I don't think so. And the person that they would have picked if he said no is the right person if you do a darker horror movie, which is Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage was their backup plan if they couldn't get Jim Carrey to do it. And
in a darker version, he's perfect.
Yeah. And could he have pulled the comedy, the more comedic version off? Yeah, it would maybe be too manic for the movie they made, and they probably would have ended up making it something more in between and going a little edgier. Because I meant to mention when the scene where Peggy double crosses him. Do you know about the deleted scene there?
Yes, which. Yeah, no, I do. Where she falls into the paper, and then her face is on it.
Well, she doesn't fall; they push her. So the idea is that Dorian murders her in that scene and says, "A girl like you deserves to have her face on every paper in town." And then I don't know if you've seen the scene. They shot it; it's on the Blu-ray. But she gets pushed into the rollers. And then they cut immediately to a newspaper where she's like cartoonishly up against the camera like this, and then it has a headline about her being murdered. That would have been like the darkest thing in the movie. Like we don't do anything like that in this movie, and I don't know that it would ultimately feel like it goes with the rest of the material. Furthermore, I don't like the execution of it at all. Like, I kind of like the idea that she gets her comeuppance in that way. Like, I'm okay with her getting killed there, and it gives Dorian something horrible to do right away. So, like, that's good. And part of that scene is she pulls a gun on him, and he, like, crumples it. And so you get examples of his power, which you don't get that much of until the third act, or until the last big set piece.
Yeah. No, that's what I remembered is, like, it's poetic, but I just remember it being kind of wonky. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time. So
doesn't really work.
It's been a while, but I've always remembered that.
In the period commentary, the director keeps talking about The Mask 2 like it's going to happen and like he might be involved with it. And one of the things he says is he kind of misses that scene because he says it's weird that she just falls out of the picture and it never comes back. But then he says the nice thing about her not dying in the theatrical version is they could bring her back if they wanted to. And so he was thinking if they made another movie, she'd be a character in it.
Oh, okay. I just put out a director's cut now, Chuck Russell. Apparently there's a Gremlins one happening. I heard the other day that there's like a 3-hour Gremlins director's cut. that was put together.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you how glad I am that they didn't make a sequel to this. And I mean, I know there's Son of the Mask, but like that's so unrelated. Like the only thing that connects them is Ben Stein.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really,
yeah,
he's in it. Yeah, but it's
I forgot he was. No, I forgot he was in it. Yeah,
it's really easy to just completely dismiss that. And this is one of those very rare superhero movies and movies in general that was this popular that ultimately didn't get messed with I mean so far anyway.
but especially New Line. Like New Line was very big into the like annual releases.
Well, what's so ironic about it is that this thing was greenlit in the first place to be a series. And then it was huge, and then it didn't happen. And I guess they got it in their heads that if Jim Carrey wouldn't do it, there's no movie. And then obviously the development hell, and then finally Son of the Mask, and we all know how that turned out. But and if you don't, do yourself a favor and don't watch it, because it will change you as a human being. But all they had to do is, like we said earlier, take the risk to make it an anthology thing. Now, I will say, if they couldn't get Jim Carrey to come back, because if memory serves, the whole thing was they were developing it, they weren't sure how they were going to make it, and Jim Carrey initially signed on for it. And I don't know if I'm right about this, but I think what happened was they made Ace Ventura 2, and he was not happy with how that turned out, and didn't want to do sequels ever again.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I always thought it was, and then I think Sonic 2 is like the thing that breaks that. Where I think oh no, Dumb and Dumber 2 is before that. So yeah, I forgot that exists. But
Sonic is kind of more understandable because that's the kind of thing that you're gonna sign a contract for multiple movies if you're gonna be the villain in that, and B,
that's true.
He's not the leading man in it, and so he goes into that knowing like.
He's going to be around.
I'm a major character, but I'm not going to have to. I'm not going to have to
do as much.
Yeah, and so it's easier to commit to it like that. I think.
Yeah.
And however you feel about those movies,
like,
he just does those because he enjoys doing them, and like I don't like a lot of what he's doing in those, but more power to him for getting to just go play around, I guess.
Now you're 70, have fun, I guess.
That's fine. It's not what I want, but yeah, he's having a good time. Let him do his thing, I guess.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, I was gonna say with that. Oh, they probably New Line probably thought of like Nightmare 2, where they started doing that without Robert Englund as Freddy.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, this is awful. They're probably like, yeah, you can't do it without Jim Carrey.
Again, it would have been a giant waste.
That was the thing.
So what I was going to say is, you probably have to lay off of it for about 7 or 8 years before you try to bring it back. And then even then, it would be a pretty hard sell, which is what they did with Son of the Mask. But the biggest issue with that is, well, it was horribly written and horribly acted, and it also had the cartoon thing for no good reason. Like the whole thing that's interesting about the Mask, or should be interesting about the Mask, is the different things it would reveal about a person's identity and personality, and like who they are versus who they wish they are. Like it should do something very different to each person that puts it on.
Well, you know why that didn't happen, Cap? Was because the only thought they had going into Son of the Mask was, haha, people liked it when the dog put on the mask.
That's it. And so now we got to do the obvious sequel thing where a baby puts it on.
And the dog, because it's also basically the same dog.
It's the same dog, yeah. No, it's weird because ways in which it's a remake.
Yeah. No, I forget how old I was when that movie came out. I think I was still a kid, but I remember being like, oh, they brought back the dog from the Mask. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense.
It's weird, all the authentic, I just had this thought, period swing music that you have in this movie, and then all of a sudden there's just one example of like an R&B type remix of a swing song. I guess to further confuse the eras. That's probably why that's there.
Suddenly it's the 90s.
We haven't talked about Stanley Ipkiss's horrible best friend, who he should drop immediately and never talk to again after he first brings him to the Coco Bongo Club, because he goes into the club, Stanley's not allowed in, and then he doesn't like come back out to find out where his friend is, or he just stays in there. And then, to add insult to injury, the next time he sees him, he invites him back to the same club. What an asshole!
What an asshole, Doc.
That's a horrible human being right there. And I do like the contrast where I think there's a decent balance here where, like, everyone Stanley surrounds himself with is, like, likable enough, but compared to him, they're all kind of not good people. And, like, that's just what this town does to people. And what's supposed to be kind of endearing about Stanley is that while he's a pushover and doesn't have a spine, he also hasn't let this horrible city change him and make him cynical. And so, like, that's where the optimism of his character is supposed to be. And so, again, it's the exact reversal of what you'll end up with something like Liar Liar, where everyone surrounding him in that movie and its spiritual sequels, they're all better people than he is. Or at least most of them.
Yeah, they're all, even as friends, kind of taking advantage of him. Or maybe not taking advantage, but, like, just kind of putting him down in some way.
Oh, absolutely takes advantage of him. What are you talking about? She like every time a woman walks in,
I just been like punching down on him, but yeah, no, that's true, especially with the women. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. He's not punching down, but he is, dictionary definition, taking advantage of his friend. Where he's like, oh,
yeah,
you want to go talk to that woman? Well, too late.
Hey, he's breaking the bro code.
Sorry, I just had a really weird flashback to Squid Game.
From the movie or what I said?
No, from this movie, because there's a big piggy bank with a bunch of money.
Oh.
And I was like, oh,
you're like,
my God.
The bro code, that reminds me of Squid Game.
Flashback to Squid Game.
Yeah, I remember when the bad guy in Squid Game got the mask? That was crazy.
Yeah, well, his friend definitely deserves the smaller gun for being such an ass face.
No, you know what really connects us to Squid Game is once you beat all the challenges, the last challenge is you have to beat Ben Stein.
Oh my God, that would be the best season of Squid Game. I hope that's what they do for the American Squid Game. He's still around. He's still working. Yeah. He's 81. Bring in Ben Stein. Put him in Squid Game.
Ben Stein do the stop go thing.
No, make him the front man. Like you got the guy with the black mask that's just staring at everything the whole show, and then when he finally takes his mask off, it's Ben Stein. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying, when you have to go specifically up against him, just make him do that, because that'd be really funny.
Well, and like that show, not to get too political, but that show is so, obviously like over the top anti-capitalist, and then Ben Stein is like very, very right-wing capitalist. So if they did that, they'd be like really throwing him under the bus. But it would be really funny if it was him.
I'll just reverse it. Just have it be very anti-communist.
I thought you were going to say have him be a contestant and then get killed.
I don't want to see Ben Stein get killed.
No, I don't either. I love Ben Stein.
Sad.
He's hilarious. Dan Schneider, $5 super chat. We are also lucky they did Cuban Pete instead of some '90s pop song that was popular at that moment in time. This holds up way better and is far cooler. Oh, absolutely. And was really kind of a culturally influential thing, even with music, because it helped bring swing back. Like you look at like Brian Setzer and stuff through the '90s, and like swing got really big again right after this, and I think it definitely had something to do with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it could have been like "Kiss from a Rose."
Leave me alone with "Kiss of the Rose," man. For a Rose, man. I like that song. Screw you.
I mean, I don't mind that song. Like, it's fine. It's
hey,
weird
Seal helped bring soul back. Okay, so like that's all. I mean, that song is already a little throwbacky. Like, it's got its tendrils in classic soul music. Yeah, you leave Seal alone.
I just would put it in the Batman movie.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But you didn't even want. Yeah, but you also didn't want Jim Carrey in a Batman movie, so.
Well, yeah, because it was also like, well, now he's just Jim Carrey.
Well, you gotta.
I mean, I also have this with Prince in '89.
No, that's
to be fair.
You gotta admit that he's at least got more range in this than he does in Batman Forever.
That's probably true. Yeah.
And then you kind of blew my mind today, sending me the link to the video that shows the intended F-bomb in this movie, which I had no idea was supposed to be there.
Yeah, in the assembly cut where he says one effing eye instead of one freaking eye, which I wish they kept, but it's not like it's a big deal.
Yeah, I like his line delivery too much with friggin' eye. That was one that jumped out at me in the theater. I just really like the way he says that. And I don't know if, again, there's really a question about just how far you could push like adult and quote unquote edgy stuff with this movie and it not change the tone of it too much. And so like I don't know if it would fit with the rest of the material. I don't know that it wouldn't jump out too much. But I do think it would be one of the big things audiences were talking about afterwards. Like it would be remembered, certainly.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel like it would be remembered as like a big F-bomb, like in a PG-13 movie. Like I feel like it would be one that people would talk about.
Well, and I guess I
don't know that it would be too rough.
I don't know. I guess what I would maybe like about it is, well, and part of where I'm conflicted is just the perspective I have from that period of this being like a major family movie, which is so weird with like where it starts. And like there's a part of me that wants it to have a little more bite than it does. But then at the same time, I don't know that it would have had the success it had if it had as much bite as it could have had. Because I still think this could have gone, even with the comedic or the like romantic comedic direction it goes, it could have been a little closer to a RoboCop or something. But it would have needed it would have needed quite a bit more violence. So like I don't mean to talk out of two sides of my face. There were a couple of instances where it would have had some pretty like rougher things in a scene that would not fit with the rest of the material. So you would have had to have peppered it through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
But what I like about the F-bomb there, if it had been there, my read, Austin, would have been, that's like the moment he finds his confidence.
Well, that's what I like about it. Yeah, is that that is part of him kind of, standing up for himself in some way, and like it's much stronger. I think is like it's more. You put a point on it.
Well, and I think it's interesting, and tell me if you think I'm reading too far into this, Austin, because I have a history of this. I think it's interesting the way the mask seems to change after Stanley gets proactive and half solves this problem himself. Like I said this back in the day with the rewind, but I think it's really important how much of the situation Stanley, without the mask, manages to deal with. And then after that, the mask is just used as a deus ex machina, which really works. Where like he then puts the mask on solely because he needs his superpowers. but not because he needs his confidence or his spine. Like, he's developed that enough now. And so when he puts the mask back on, I feel like he has, like I said earlier, more control over it. You notice he pulls the guns out, and they don't have any bullets in them. Like, they just do the flags. And then he, not that he shot anybody earlier, but I think there's kind of a point being made with that, where, like, he's just intimidating. There's no part of him that really wants to hurt anyone now. And then he doesn't say anything womanizing and grotesque to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he immediately takes the mask off instead.
And that's why I say it looks like a blueprint for what he could be as a superhero. Where now he can put it on and take it off, and he's more or less the same person.
Yeah, exactly. And just with how the mask works, where there's only one, like, in order to have any stakes in your climax, you really need Stanley to not have it through most of the climax. So, like, it is good that they built the character arc into it in that way, where he now has to, stand up for himself.
Yeah,
and then he gets it at the end.
And then
for the last
structurally,
second,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Well, I was just saying, and then he gets it for the last second because, it's the mask. You want to see him in the climax.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is structurally, it really works because the audience is going to feel cheated if they don't get to see him put it on again. But then for the character arc, it really works because that's not the climax. Now it's like a coda.
Well, they have their cake and eat it too in a smart way, in that Stanley gets to do his own thing, and then we give it to the dog for a minute, so you can still have some of that action, so that people also then, if they're really into that stuff, have it in some form.
That's true. Well, it's just kind of fun that within a 5-minute scene, 3 different people get to put the mask on.
Yeah.
And we don't overdo it, where you very easily could have had it go to too many different people throughout the movie. You could have just been obnoxious with it, like the girl gets the mask, and like you could have done that stupid Venom thing, where you have the love interest who is She-Venom for 6 seconds for no reason, does nothing with it at all, and it immediately comes off. It's like, if you're gonna do that, let her do something.
Are you saying you don't want to see her kiss the mask onto him like Venom?
I forgot about that part of it. No. Now, I would have been fine with that for a sequel. And in fact, you know what you could have done for a sequel? If it had to be this cast again, I'm just coming up with this in the moment. I've never had this thought before, so maybe this will turn out to be a really stupid idea. But I'm going to say it anyway, because I just thought of it. Obviously, an audience is going to want to see, if Jim Carrey is in it again, Jim Carrey as the mask for a decent amount of it. But what if the character arc the second time around was hers? Because we don't do all that.
Like
we talked about, thing? We don't do a lot with her. And what if we found out what she's repressing with the mask? And you could tell a story where he puts it on just to be a superhero. Where, like, maybe at the end of the movie, he had to go get it back from his dog or back from his best friend. Like, it would be... I've always thought a sequel would be weird because he obviously throws the mask away and doesn't... have it anymore, but you could read it really easily as it stays in the family, right? Like, he still can't get rid of it because everybody he knows wants it, right? So what if in between the first and second movie, now I'm just going to pitch this, I guess, he takes it back because he doesn't really trust anybody else with it, and he realizes how crappy his city is, and he could help clean it up, right? So he's like, okay, fine, I will be a superhero. And so it's sort of like the beginning of Sonic 2. Like, now he's running around being a superhero. And then, I just thought of that because we were talking about the Sonic movies. And then, he's wearing it to go solve crimes. But then, in between those times, like nights he's not doing that, she is secretly putting it on. And then we get a character arc about what she's repressing. And you could almost maybe do some kind of addiction parallel with it, or metaphor with it, where, like, she is intoxicated putting it on and won't stop wearing it. You can do something cool with that.
Yeah. No, that's true. I guess the mask does have a thing where it knows you've had your character arc, where earlier he throws it out the window and it just comes back to him, but
Yeah.
he had his character arc, so it doesn't come back now.
Yeah, no, that's silly. Like, I was gonna say that
That
too.
would have made the Leif Erikson thing weird, right? Because he didn't have a character arc, I don't think. He was just getting rid of it.
Maybe he did. Maybe he had a character arc. Or
Yeah, I don't
maybe
know.
there's nothing magical technically at all about that, and it really just somehow works like a boomerang if you throw it. I was watching
He
this.
just threw it awkwardly.
Yeah, I was watching this with my twins again, who I have seen this before and really like this movie. And Selena goes, so my twin girls are 4, and Selena goes, "What is it, a boomerang?" Like that's what she said. It was really funny.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, maybe. You can only get rid of it if you dump it into the sea.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I missed that.
You can only get rid of it if you dump it into the sea. If you do that, it's gone.
Yeah, you gotta lock it up in a box that's really weighted, and then get it down to the bottom of the ocean.
Or just throw it into water, because he's able to just throw it in the water. But then the dog gets it, so
That's true. Maybe it knew
I don't know.
that his friends were there, and they would go get it. Or maybe it doesn't come
exactly.
back to you if you're looking.
Yeah, if I were that friend, I would have been like, "Hey, you're throwing it out anyways. Can I just have it?"
Can I have it?
Instead of jumping off a bridge, which you would definitely die from.
You already got the girl, which I was trying to get. So how about you let me have this mask?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to complain about the music and the credits. And, like, this stuff is fine, but and even like the song they cut to is not like right at the start of the credits is not horrible, but it's such an awkward, jarring cut. It's like, why don't you just let the score play for like a minute before you do that? It's so
Let it play
awkward.
out more.
It's like, yeah, because you go back to Hey Pachinko, not Pachinko, Pachuco. You go back to Hey Pachuco, and then as soon as we get to credits, we cut to some pop song, and I'm like, no.
Just cut to Kiss from a Rose.
Well, yeah, Batman Forever does it too, where it's like, and that was a big '90s thing, where just right away you would go to whatever the song is that we're selling it for, and that it gets kind of too commercial.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do that, find a way to incorporate whatever the song is into the last scene, so you're not jarringly cutting your score. It just sounds weird.
Yeah, or like Spider-Man we did last week. That kind of plays out for a second and then goes silent.
Yeah,
And then the hero starts playing.
that works all right.
Yeah.
Speaking
That
of,
was also just as cheesy.
yeah.
Of
Speaking
course.
of Hey Pachuco, yeah, but it's not obnoxious. I don't know. My son Jason, who's an accomplished dancer, so he's in competitive dance, and has been since he was 5. Jason's 15 now, and he turned 16 in a couple months here, which is crazy. I'm getting old.
Makes me feel so old.
Isn't that crazy? But anyway, he did a tap solo. He does his main. He does a lot of different dance, but he's best at tap. That's his favorite, and he does a tap solo every year. And he did one to that song, and it was great. And I think it was last year maybe, and he didn't even pitch it. Yeah, it was his one of his dance teachers came up with that for him, and I tried to get him to do a full-blown mask get-up, and you know why he wouldn't do it? Like, not the mask, but just the yellow suit with the hat. And he ended up with a yellow tie. Like, he throws back to this movie in his wardrobe, but he just hates yellow. He's like, I'm not gonna wear a yellow suit, Dad. Like, you can't make me do that. It's like, okay.
Not even the green face paint?
Well, there's no way you're getting that on and off. Like, you might have another dance you got to go do like 5 minutes after that. Like, there's no getting that on and off. But
there's also the mask in that one too. She keeps sneaking in.
Can I ask you a question? Did your
Yes.
I don't know how loud you've got your audio up, but did you get a gunshot sound at the end?
So I like clicked away, so that was my bad.
Oh, no, that's all right.
So I didn't hear that.
You get to the end of the credits, and they give you a mask logo, and then it just goes, "Pachoo!" and there's like a gunshot sound, and
What's the sequel setup? You're like, wait a minute. Who fired that gun?
oh man, I don't know if I've ever paid attention to that movie all the way to the end of the credits, but now I want to pull my old DVD out and see if it has that, because I don't remember that, but that was weird.
That is really funny.
But like I said, folks, if you remotely like this movie, you gotta look at this transfer, because it's incredible what it looks like.
That's awesome.
That's one of those
great.
like,
They did
you'll
such a
never
good
go
job.
back, kinds of experiences. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Now watch, they'll put out another one so they can get the director's cut with that one paper scene back in, and Leif Erikson.
I'm not buying that. Those were correct cuts. Like, there's not a lot deleted from this movie. The stuff they deleted, they were right about. There's nothing where I'm like, oh, why'd you cut that? Like, I don't know, competent director, like, kind of knows what he's doing.
Okay, but what if, Cap, they put in the Leif Erikson scene, and because you said there's like all like the colorful clouds, right?
Yeah.
And they superimpose Bob Hoskins looking down at them, and Alan Cummings laughing as Loki in the sky, so that we like more properly connect it to its sequel.
I don't know, the way you try to entice me sometimes is really it's really confusing. I don't feel like you know me at all. I'm gonna have to put a mask on in order to show you what I'm really like, Austin. One thing I meant to mention thematically, I really appreciate about this movie, and I can't remember what I said in the original rewind, if I had this read or if I had it, because I seem to recall saying something like, the mask is ironic because you put it on and then you're actually not wearing a mask because it like shows everyone who you really are, which is not actually what's happening. Like, if I said that, I'm dumb and wrong. Because what the mask actually does, like, when you put that on, it's like alcohol. And I meant to talk about this as like a metaphor for substance abuse too, because you put it on and like I said, it takes away all your inhibitions, and so you're not afraid to you don't have any what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word I'm looking for. But you're not scared to do anything, right? And so it's like alcohol in that way, which can sometimes be kind of a useful thing and can often be like a really bad idea. And I meant to say, when he puts the mask back on at the very end, like we were talking about with that kind of coda, it's now he's almost like a functioning drunk.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is kind of interesting.
Now he's come to, yeah.
But what I was gonna say is, like, you're actually still wearing a mask when you're wearing the mask in exactly the same way as you are when you're like just pretending and putting a front on for people, because you're only showing one side of yourself. So it isn't even just being something you're not. It's not embracing all aspects of your personality and finding like the right blend and balance of them. And so when Ben Stein's character says we all wear masks, like, even if you're like a really well like high functioning person and you're like content with yourself and happy with who you are, you still do that. Like you kind of have to like get by with people. Like you're always picking and choosing what parts of yourself you're going to show to other people. And the fact that you're like, you can, poorly act, I guess, but for the most part, if you decide to put on a certain face and act a certain way, you're not exactly being something you're not because you came up with it. So there's a part of you that you are showing to the world, but you're hiding other parts, which makes it a mask. And so it's interesting that the mask is still a mask. It's just you're just showing a side of yourself that you wouldn't usually because you're too scared to.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have that even with just different people. Where you'll put on a different mask depending on what crowd you're in. Definitely.
But anyway, that's a little analysis about that I wanted to do. Let's go on now.
No, good call. Good call.
Thanks, man. Let's go to our mini reviews and a quick plug for Patreon. If you'd like to put these in for the end of each Superhero Rewind commentary, patreon.com/geekvolution, and just the $5 tier lets you put in a tweet length review, and you can also do it live with a $5 super chat, and if you do it apart from super chats, we'll try to read some of those also if you get those in, but we guarantee it with a super chat. And on Patreon I have 3.
I've got 2, so you go first.
And I will go first, okay. The word I was looking for earlier was anxiety. If you put the mask on, you don't have anxiety, and that's what alcohol also takes away. Is it helps you not be anxious. Apologies, I had too much anxiety, and I couldn't come up with the word anxiety.
No, you're good.
Daniel Davis
it's like Norm Macdonald said. Sorry, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I thought I was going first.
No, I was saying something off of that, but I was just joking. So go ahead.
Okay. Daniel Davis, 1994 was the year that Jim Carrey really became Jim Carrey. That is true. Of the 3 movies he made that year, The Mask may be my favorite, a near-perfect star vehicle showcasing Carrey's rubber-faced talents alongside groundbreaking special effects for the time. Some of the stuff involving Dorian and his gang feels like it should be in a more typical 90s action movie. We kind of said that, but it plays in contrast to The Mask's cartoonier antics. All in all, it's a spicy meatball superhero.
From Subject 879, aka John, he says, my favorite Jim Carrey movie. It balances cartoonish humor with a good character arc for Stanley. Rating superhero.
Back Studio is not a perfect film, but it captures my love of cartoons so well that it covers many sins with a blanket of sheer fun. For a cartoon brought forth in real life, the effects and the story each hold up plenty fine. The overall essence of this movie is just firing on all cylinders, particularly Carrey's iconic performance, and the marriage between the performance and the film's great visual effects work for its time. Superhero.
From Chewbacca's Lover?
Let me add to that real quick.
Ahead.
I think if it didn't have that timeless thing where it's integrating like 40s aspects with modern stuff, it would not hold up as well as it does. Like, regardless of how you feel about the effects. I think that was such a smart move. I don't think you'd be able to go back to it as easily.
Yeah, I know that's probably true. From Chewbacca's Lover, he says, a really good movie. Jim Carrey is great as both Ipkiss and The Mask hero.
Can you believe we haven't said him Carrey yet?
No, that's what chucked me up for a second, is that he wrote Impkiss instead of Ipkiss, so I was like, I'll just correct it.
Stanley Impkiss?
Yeah.
That would almost be
we haven't said him Carrey.
It would almost be a more appropriate name. Like, I kind of like...
Well, him Carrey played Impkiss.
Oh, I think you said Imp Kiss. Like he's an imp.
Yeah, no, I did.
You did? Okay.
That's how it's written, but I corrected it, like when saying it. That's why I chose up for a second.
If his name was Imp Kiss, it would be like foreshadowing, where like he's going to transform into a impish character.
Yeah.
I've always liked Ip Kiss as like an almost I can say anagram, but like it's not entirely on the nose, but it's like you change one letter and it's like up kiss, like he's a kiss up.
Yeah.
That's how I've always kind of read that. And I don't
Yeah,
know if
no,
that was
same.
intended in the comic, but doesn't his character, because you've read it more recently than me, doesn't his character in the comic have a little bit of the same thing where like he also sort of repressed?
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing I get from everybody that gets the mask in the book, which I think is really interesting. And yeah, you get that with Stanley, where he's like very mousy, and it's like people are mean to him, and he's like, oh, like the second thing he does is the mask is he is he beats up his teacher from when he was in like kindergarten because he's like just like held a grudge to like all these people, like all it's happened his entire life.
Well, that's how you approach that, of course, as a horror movie. Is you get that, and now you're not scared to uh, like go back and hurt everyone you've always wanted to do something to for the way they wronged you, and then it
Yeah.
would be in a weird way. It would be like the best way I could put it is like a petty revenge thriller.
Yeah. Well, and so this is something I knew beforehand.
You do the
that-
catharsis thing with it.
Yeah. And I knew that Stanley Ipkiss gets killed in the comics, but I assumed that was in like a sequel or maybe at the end of the first one. I didn't realize how early that is in that book, where he gets killed like halfway through that original series, and then the cop that's in this is the one that takes the mask.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he becomes more of like a heroic one where he's going around killing criminals.
Well, I think it gets kind of anthology after that, where it's like the real character of the book is Big Head. It's like anybody that wears that is
Yeah.
Big Head, and it's interesting that there's no reference to that in the movie. That
Yeah.
you'd think that there might even be like a not that he's got to be called that, but there might be some kind of throwaway line that just references it, where somebody's like, "Wow, he has a big head." Like it's really surprising that never happened.
Mm-hmm. No, because they're instantly like, that's Ipkiss. The pajamas fit.
If the pajamas fit. Victor, a perfect marriage of material, director, and star. I think the key to this movie is how likable Jim Carrey is as Stanley Ipkiss. You're always rooting for him even more than you're rooting for The Mask. I think the special effects hold up wonderfully, but even if they didn't, this would still be a great movie because it's got great characters, structure, and a hell of a lot of heart. Rating, smokin', I mean legend. That's our first legend, I think.
Yeah.
And that's all of our mini reviews, I think.
Mm-hmm. Also, if he were Ipkiss, I would want it so that when he puts the mask on, he becomes small.
Well, yeah, there's that. Austin, go ahead and give us our rating. Or, sorry, let me start that sentence again. Give us your rating, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody grab their tomatoes. Okay, so for me, I appreciate what this movie's doing, at least on paper. I think it's interesting. Like, I think we're able to talk about a lot of the ways in which it's interesting. But it doesn't ultimately come together for me, and there's parts where I just wish that certain things were different. Like, I don't think the cartoon stuff is done as well as other things, like say like a Joe Dante movie, or even like a Roger Rabbit. And I don't think Carrey works in this movie for me. So there's just, and then again, the villains are just kind of generic of the time. So I'm gonna go with a villain, but it's held up a little bit because A, I think it's got good production value, and B, again, I think it's interesting to talk about, at least on paper.
Wow, there's just days I don't understand you at all.
Yeah. So, everybody throw their tomatoes, but that's how I feel.
I mean, I respect it. I don't understand it.
Well, and the big thing too,
Yeah.
and I didn't get into this because it's never interesting.
No,
But
you're good.
This movie makes me laugh almost never, and it's never interesting to be like, this comedy doesn't work for me. This comedy doesn't work for me. So I never did that while we were talking
That's
about
fair.
it. But that is a big part of it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you have that, it's hard to rate a comedy very high.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, the thing for me with this movie is obviously, like, I've got the massive nostalgia thing because this was huge for me when I was a kid. But then I was surprised when I first when I wrote about it for Rewind a million years ago, just like how much interesting story and thematic stuff I was able to mine from it, and so I ended up appreciating it on a narrative level in a way I hadn't before. And I'll admit, it watched thinner to me this time than it did back then, and I think some of that just felt sharper at the time because I'd never really thought about this movie much beyond just it was a fun entertainment and it made me laugh when I was a kid.
mm-hmm.
And then I was like, "Oh, this movie's actually kind of about something," and I don't think I appreciated that before. And now I'm in kind of more of a middle, like even point with it, where like I'm admittedly maybe bringing a little bit more to it than is exactly intended. But there's a lot of interesting like jumping off points that you can make with this that
Yeah.
on the one hand, it could explore more, and on the other hand, I really appreciate that it's a solid hour and a half. But anyway, I'll go to superhero. There's a part of me that would love to go to legend. I didn't go all the way to 4 even back when I first wrote about it, and with some of the convenient plot points, and then I 100% agree with you on the villain. Like that side of it's not great. I guess the problem is there's a little bit of like a having its cake and eating it too thing in a not great way that happens where it's undeniably a superhero movie, but it's sometimes very interested in that, and it's sometimes not at all interested in that. And I almost wish it wasn't a superhero movie. And I think it would probably be more effective if it just went, we don't really need like a typical villain plot. We don't actually have to do that whole thing. And again, if it's going to, let him really parallel the protagonist, and then you have to subvert the big third act climax as a superhero movie in the way the love interest thing does, and the way the big like shootout that turns into a musical number does. Now, I don't think you can do that again. I don't think you can end it with just another big musical number. So I don't know exactly what you do. But defusing a bomb and kidnapping the girl and tying her up in a tie that looks like she could probably get out of it, like, yeah.
Yeah. No, because I agree. Like, it is a pretty generic third act, but I also am not immediately going, well, this is obviously what you do to replace it. So, that is a hard call.
Yeah. It's just, the whole thing is a tough balancing act, and it's amazing to me that it manages it even as well as it does. And again, I think it does it a lot better than you do, because I actually think Jim Carrey's performance is really impressive. But if you're not buying into that, then you're not buying into the movie. So that's a problem.
Exactly. Because like I said, I appreciate his character arc on paper. It just doesn't play for me. So it's like I get what it's doing.
But yeah, I mean, we don't have to keep talking in circles about that whole thing. But But anyway, so yeah, like I'd love to go to Legend. I can't go to that, but I think for me, Hero's also a little too low, just because.
No, that's completely fair.
Like the thematic stuff is interesting enough, and also it's such a unique movie. Like, especially at the time, there's not really anything else like that, and the 90s needed it. Like, I don't mean to rate high because of like a movie's importance or influence, but like it was very influential, and I think deservingly so. So I'll go to a superhero place with it. Let's look at rankings now. I ranked this because honestly, coming into this, I thought I was going to go Legend, and then as we talked about it, I could not bring myself to go quite that far. And I don't think you dragged me down. I'm just like the Dorian of it all. I'm not going past superhero.
Well, I didn't want to come in and be like a bummer. Like I didn't want to be like, and this sucks and this sucks. So like I was giving it its dues and just pointing out criticisms
absolutely.
I have. Okay, so yeah, you got it at number.
Well, I haven't shown it yet.
Sorry, I can't see it for the audience, so I assumed it was already on.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I've not put it up yet. But what I was gonna say is, I'm questioning my placement a little bit, but I also don't think the movies I have below it I went Legend with. I might have with Sherlock Holmes. Can you remember?
I don't remember.
Because I loved that when we did it, but I cannot remember if I went all the way to Legend with it. Anyway, at the moment, I've got it at 8. I've got it in my top 10. I've got it just above Sherlock Holmes and just below Days of Future Past. And then below that is Under the Red Hood, and then Return of the Joker at 11. And I think I'm standing by that being above at least those two movies. I'm not sure about Sherlock Holmes right now. I think that movie overall, I might find story-wise, a little bit sharper, more effective. I'm shocked to say.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's where I've got.
I mean, I can see it either way. Like, this is also a big movie for you. Like, it also makes sense. Like, I think it's a perfectly acceptable spot to have it.
Yeah.
Certainly.
And then naturally, because of the way he rated it, Austin's got it pretty low. Austin's got it at 46, under X-Men and above the Phantom.
Yeah.
I am a little surprised you've got it under X-Men, because you were.
I think because I was back and forth,
Did you go
but then I was like,
I
think
you might have gone villain on that.
Yes, I did go villain on that. Yeah. No, I think I've gone villain up through, and then I think Power Rangers is the highest villain I have right now, and then I think Batman Ninja. I think we both did hero on, and then I think I'm hero after that.
And like we said before, like it's hard to be consistent about that, so it's whatever. But
exactly.
But that makes sense. For
yeah. No, I was thinking about it. I was gonna put it over X-Men, and then I was like, but there's more performances I like in X-Men, even though I don't ultimately really like that movie very much. So that just kind of put it over.
Yeah, well, at least people can't say that I've got a co-host that just parrots me and says all the same stuff I say. That we always agree on everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Austin,
freak you, sir.
So we're done with the mask. But really, people that like this movie, they did an amazing job on this release, and you owe it to yourself to get your hands on that if you still can. I've done a showing or unboxing or something on this before when I got it a few weeks ago. But just real quick, I just wanted to show this again because it's got really cool stuff in it.
Yeah.
And so it's got a good kind of information booklet, and then it comes with these cool kind of like lobby cards that are all in black and white, and they're cool. And they did just a really nice kind of classy release on that. Austin, tell everybody what we're doing next time. And by the way, it'll be at least a week before, or 2 weeks before we come back. We'll have at least a week off because I've got a writers meeting next week, and I don't do this show on those weeks anymore because I got to make sure that I've got enough time to do that and to do the amount of prep I need to do for this show. So we'll be doing some kind of impromptu show next Friday night. Not sure exactly what yet, but we'll do something cool.
Yeah, no, it'll be a pretty light week for me next week because I'm on vacation at least till Tuesday, so I'm not even sure At least I won't be there for Monday, but I'll see you on Tuesday.
I forgot all about that. You told me about that.
Yeah, so it'll be a pretty light week.
Okay. There's a
but before
I'll let everybody know what I'm doing. I might even take more of next week off. But we'll almost certainly do something at least on Friday.
Yeah, for sure.
At least if Austin's around.
Yeah, I'm definitely around by that point. I'm back home on Tuesday.
Okay, sweet.
Before I reveal the next one, I just wanted to jump in. People are talking about in the chat.
Yeah.
If it would have worked if they did like a more gritty, dark movie, and I do think just ultimately they made the right choice commercially. I agree with the anniversary. It would 100% have been a cult hit at best, I think, if they went full on what the comic is. I might have liked that movie more, but like they made the right choice as like commercially, certainly.
Well, and what's fascinating to me about it historically, like I kind of mentioned this earlier, but is just the fact that it's so opposite from what usually happens. Because I always thought, or at least for a long time, I thought this was kind of like a studio compromise that unusually actually worked, and they turned out to be right about it. It's the director that convinced them to do what ultimately turned out to be the more commercially viable thing. That never happens.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like old school New Line, not always, but could be really good about that stuff where it's like, oh, this person just wants to do this.
Yeah.
Just go do it.
But I also think it's cool that
it's the reason why they made Lord of the Rings.
I just think it's cool that came from a creative vision as opposed to like fear of something not being accessible enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But next week, so we've done Captain America Civil War. Now we're going back to the first one. And everyone's going to be super excited. We are doing the Reb Brown 1979 Captain America.
See, you say that, but that joke fell a little flat because we've done First Avenger on this show.
That's right, we have done First Avenger. I forgot about that.
So the best you could have done was made everybody think we were doing the 1990 movie?
No, so I had to pivot in the moment because I thought of that joke earlier and I was like, oh, well, we've done Civil War and we've done Winter Soldier. And then as I was saying it, I was like, wait a minute, we haven't done Winter Soldier.
We've not done Winter Soldier.
But I forgot that we've done First Avenger. So just in the moment, I thought we'd only done Civil War.
Daniver says, too bad it's not Death Too Soon. Yeah, that's true. But
so that's the one I actually want to do.
Either of these, and I don't love the idea of doing them in reverse order.
And that Captain America is so different that, like, there's things you would bring to the sequel not knowing his origin in that first movie.
Okay.
So, like, I feel like we couldn't have done that.
You have to watch them both. I thought about just doing them as a double feature, but I don't want to sit through 3.5 hours of that.
Well, especially because it will be like the most boring movie ever, and then a really fun, awesome B movie.
So we'll just get that out of the way, and we'll try to make it as fun as we can. But that's the problem with this exercise is sometimes you just end up with a dud, but you got you know that going in. And that's not fair. I've not seen it, but like everybody says it drags and it's boring, and I'm sure it is. But that's the job, man. Like you got to do it. It's not your fault. You know what it is. At least it's not like Spawn Year where I'm doing everything mostly chronological, and I realize, oh god, it's mostly bad. Like at least you can jump around and hit some good things and some bad things.
No, it is a movie in which Captain America never throws a shield, but will throw meat at people. So it's something. But
I can't wait to see that.
No,
that's very exciting.
I'm excited to talk about Death Too Soon because Christopher Lee's the bad guy, and his plot is he has like a serum that makes you old.
Now, I guess we can talk about this off camera. I guess we could consider doing a double feature in the sense of one week and the next one the next week. We've never done that.
No, we've never done that. I mean, that'd be cool and all, but like we don't have to do that. Like it's fine.
Well,
it's not a big deal. I'm just excited that we're slowly walking up that ladder because I've put the Red Brown Captain America movies on like 16 lists and it never gets voted on.
Well, you should thank me for that because I intentionally picked like weaker things so that yours had more of a chance.
But so full disclosure, because I
Yeah.
picked that and Shark Boy and Lava Girl, I thought for sure people would vote for that over Captain America, because that's like a weird movie. But
Well, I'll use that
I'm more
for another
excited about Red Brown.
plug for Patreon, and if you'd like to help us out with those polls and help us pick movies for the show, that's the $10 tier that makes you a Patreon producer. And there are some other cool perks that you get for that as well, including having your name read at the end of every episode of this show. And we're going to do that here in just a minute. Well, Austin, I'm sorry
Yeah.
that we had another one of my favorite movies that you didn't care for as much.
Oh, it's okay. I hope I wasn't too much of an asshole about it.
No, you're good. I'm trying to think how often we've had that the other direction, where it's like, here's a movie that you just absolutely love, and I'm like, I guess.
Dr. Mordred.
Well, I still don't understand that with Dr. because I feel like we like a lot of the same things about that movie, but I don't get why you like it as much as you do. Like that wasn't.
No,
even,
I love that movie.
I don't get it. That wasn't even a matter of disagreement so much as. But why do you like that so much? Like I don't get that. But the big one was Toxic Avenger.
Yeah,
Where I just can't even hardly look at that.
that is true. That's true. Daniverse Super will be a big one like that.
Yeah, no, it will. I may not be here for that one. There might be somebody else in my seat when that one happens. That will be the quietest.
I was waiting for the Toxic Avenger sequels.
That'll be the quietest I'll ever be on one of these. Where I will have a really hard time not just putting on a neutral face and being like, okay, Austin, you talk about this movie. I don't know. It makes me.
He tackles a woman out of a wheelchair. It's great.
I don't get it. Anyway. Well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. And thanks to all of our patrons. And thanks for everybody watching live tonight and leaving super chats. Appreciate all the support. And especially want to thank our Patreon producers, including Jesse Surtees, Jajira, Bag Studios, Victor, Super Billy, Elliot Slater, Dr. Hello, Stone Gas Man, Goofster123, Joe Turner, Donnie St. Pierre, Matthew Brody, Abig Stark, Kareem Roberts, Damon Begay, Adam March, Cereal When Pigs Fly, Hot Soup, Michael Martin, Kate Blaze, and the Captain Coon. And by the way, this is neither here nor there, but Hot Soup lives 3 hours away from me and is coming over to hang out tomorrow. He's actually going to be here at the studio, and we're going to hang out and do, I don't know, something. He's bringing a Switch 2. I guess we're going to play some Switch 2. I don't know what else we're doing.
Ah, there you go. Some Mario Kart Bonanza.
Yeah, those are two different games. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No, I know. I was struggling to think of games, and then like both of them jumped out at me at the same time. So it's like, I'll just combine them.
That's a perfectly fine name for a Mario Kart game.
It is a good one, yeah.
Well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching.
Donkey Kong World, I guess, also makes sense.
Donkey Kong World, yeah, no, that's not bad. That's not bad. Well, Austin,
he had a country, now he has a world.
I want to thank you for letting me talk about how much I enjoy this movie, while you talked about how you found it somewhat mediocre.
Yeah, I love destroying everything Cap loves. It is my desire and goal in life.
Yes, that's why I keep inviting you back, because I'm a masochist.
Exactly, yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
Thanks again for being here, everybody. We sure appreciate you, and we will be back for this show in a couple of weeks. And join us next Friday for something. We might be doing some trailer reactions. I'm not sure yet. We'll talk off camera, but we'll do something fun next week. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin the Day Ghost.
Good night, everybody. That was so non-committal. I'm sorry.
Good Bye. See you later, folks.